And welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here. And then just welcome, my name is Rusty. And this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror. And my favorite music, mostly metal. And we are going to continue this little block with a fantastic fucking movie called Yellow Brick Road. Now, Yellow Brick Road was originally released in 2010, and it was directed by Jesse Holland and Andy Mitton, written by those two guys as well, and it stars Michael Laurino, Anessa Ramsey, Alex Draper, and Cassidy Freeman, who plays Tess in Smallville. Yes, she plays Erin in this movie. But though this was released in 2010, this is a brand new special edition remaster that they've come back and done. They remastered it and they recreated and refilmed some of the special effects scenes. They redid some of the special effects and stuff in it. So this is a brand new re-imaging of that original 2010 film. Now, I fucking loved this movie. This movie, I'm trying to think how to jump into it. In 1940, there is a little town called Fryer, New Hampshire. And one day, out of the blue, all 257 residents of this town walked up an unmarked trailhead up into the mountains and disappeared. The entire town. Now, when it was discovered that this town was gone, abandoned, they found a couple people frozen, as far as they could look up the mountain. They found a couple people frozen, and they found a couple of people who had been mutilated. But the vast majority, 257 people, poof, they were just gone and never heard from again. So now, in the film, it's 2008, and this guy who's always been obsessed with the story and his wife, Ted and Melissa, they have finally, because nobody wants to talk about it, right? Nobody wants to remember it in the town, what happened back then. So, over the years, he's had a very difficult time ever getting any information about it, when all of a sudden they decide to declassify it, so to speak. And they actually turn over the whole police case file to him. And he surprises his friend Walter and his wife, who thinks that they're going to not be able to do anything but write another book about it. Well, instead, now that he's got all of this, they go through it, and it even came with an audio tape of the one and only survivor that they ever found who came back. And he couldn't do much but talk gibberish, and he had his hands over his ears, and you get to hear what he says. And it's just like, we got to keep walking, we've got to keep walking, and he won't take his hands off his ears and stuff. So it's very strange. So now that they have all this information, including the coordinates and stuff like that, they want to film a documentary. They want to know where they went, so they get to do more than write a book. They want to do that, so they assemble this team, him and his wife, and their friend Walter, and who was, I'll look at my notes, probably hardly not at all, but Cy and Daryl and Aaron. Daryl and Aaron are brother and sister. They're cartographers, map makers. Jill, Walter, that's their original team. So they're all excited. They go to this town and they go to the coordinates of where this trailhead is supposed to start. And instead it takes them to a theater, right? To a movie theater. And they go in and they're like, what is this? You know, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. There's no trailhead. But he does see the popcorn girl, you know, like making the popcorn. She gives him some strange looks, and he gets the hint that he should follow her. So he pays for a ticket. The rest of them go out very disappointed. Because, you know, if they don't know where the trailhead is, they can't do this, right? So he goes on in there and he sits down with her, and she starts telling him that she knows where the trailhead is. She understands nobody wants to talk about it and nobody wants to, you know, do it, but she does know where it is. But she'll only tell him if they agree to take her, because she wants to be part of something that'll help her get out of this fucking town. So they agree, and she takes them to the local party spot, which is where this trailhead is, and they've named it Yellow Brick Road. You know, like Off to See the Wizard, because everybody disappeared. So they have it now, so they're excited and they start going. Now, because they're ascending a mountain, Walter is a psychologist, so he's always giving them these tests, cognitive tests, to make sure that nobody is like getting out, you know, and then 10 miles in and 20 miles in and 30 miles now, you know, they're going up this mountain, following this trail. So I know I marked like the days, because things start happening by the day, you know, when things start kicking in. Like day 3, day 4. Day 4 is when the music starts. They start hearing this weird animalistic, like, but then it's like coherent, and it's like, what is that? And it's very faint, and it's music. Not only is it music, but it's 1940s music, you know, like crooners, right? So day 4, they start hearing this music, and these sounds. By day 5, they discuss whether maybe they should go back, right? Because this is just, first of all, this music will not stop, and this music keeps getting louder and louder. Like, where the fuck is this music coming from? And the more they ascend, the louder it gets. So they discuss, like, you know, turning back. By day 6, the music is louder, and they are 65 miles in to this trail, and they just cannot find the end. By day 7, Ted is getting a little bit shaky, and then the music stops. And that freaks them out, because after days of this non-stop music, it actually kind of makes them feel weird and almost a little crazy that they can't hear the music anymore. It's almost like they miss the music, when before it was like bothering them. So on day 9, they stop and they have this, they're like, because Dylan, or Daryl, Daryl had brought like a bottle of whiskey, but they hadn't touched it. But they're like, okay, so day 9, they have this like party where they just party at that night. They drink and they laugh and they go to relax, from all the shit that's going on. It was also on then that Liv admits that she lied. She did not know her grandfather. That her grandfather hadn't visited this town, and he was one of the ones that found out they were missing. So she had told a lie to get on this. The only thing that she told the truth about was that she knew the town's secret, and that is that she knew where the Yellow Brick Road began. The marker. So she did know where the trailhead was, but all of the sob story that she gave to get them to let her come along was a lie. Well, they say it doesn't matter. You did the important thing, which was you let us know where this thing began. So the next day, the music starts again. And the music's even louder. Walter is also noticing that people are getting cognitively fucked up. They're losing their memory of anything that took place before they left on the trailhead. Their aggression is up. Their depression is up. So this stuff is really starting to have an effect on them. Then we have, I guess, what you could call a turning point in the movie. And that is where, Daryl had found a hat. And he had been wearing this hat. And the hat aggravated Erin, his sister, for some reason. And they ended up, on that next day, they ended up getting into a huge giant fight. And they're over there because, they're taking down coordinates for the map. They're over there and the rest of the bunch is here. And like I said, this is the turning point in the movie. And a couple of them hear them yelling, and Walter grabs the binoculars, and you see what's going on. And Daryl rips part of her face off and beats her half to death, and then physically pulls her left leg off of her body. Rips her leg off. And is laying there holding it. And everybody is freaked the fuck out. And a couple of them run up there to her, and she dies, of course, from blood loss really quick, because I know you may be going, where did he rip it off? The hip socket, right? So right there at the top of the thigh. I mean, the whole fucking leg. So that freaks everybody out, and he bloody takes off into the woods. Now, who is it? Cy and Ted go after him, while the others cover up her body and mark it and stuff like that. And of course, everybody is starting to freak the fuck out now, because shit has just went south. And they don't know what to do. They decide that they're going to turn around and go back. But the problem is, with Erin dead, and who had the coordinates, right? Who was making the map? Daryl and Erin. So he's got the notebook with the directions and the GPS coordinates, and stuff like that. How are they going to get back without him? So that's why Cy and Ted go after him. Because they need that book, right? And they do manage to find him, and he's all freaky and upset. And he lets them tie him up, and they bring him back to the group. And they're all going to go on up from there to figure out what to do. Well, Ted, he wants to go forward. He's like, we keep going north, And they start arguing, all of them, arguing. And Cy is like, hell no, I'm not going up there. And Melissa and Walter, they want to go back down. And so they think that they've made up their minds and that that's what they're going to do. They're going to turn around and go back. But when she wakes up the next morning, Ted has gotten a backpack and he has went on. Now this is right after they had this horrible discovery where they, that thing in Pet Cemetery where you weren't supposed to go past the big brambles, the big sort of like a vine wall, that's what they run into. And Ted had climbed to the top of it and he had seen like this lush green valley with a perfect yellow brick road trail, going on. But that wasn't the gross thing. The gross thing was Aaron's body was hanging there on a cross in front of these brambles, dressed like a scarecrow. That was actually Aaron. Right. And it was like rough. And it's like when they looked at her and the camera moved in, it's like half her head and jaw fell off. It was gross. It was really gross. So that's where they had camped that night. Then the next morning, he had gotten a backpack. He had jumped those brambles and he had went on. So leaving them upset and not knowing what to do, they argue. Well, Cy and Liv, they're like, we are going now. So they're going west because that's where Cy, he was like the woodsman, like the trail guide. So he's like that. But Melissa, and of course Daryl has gotten away because he got a machete. He stole Cy's machete, got his ropes loose, and had taken off on the ATV. So he's gone. Liv and Cy decide to go west, and Melissa and Walter are going south, trying to go back. And Ted, he's like jumped those brambles, and he's going on down the Yellow Brick Road. So they're all split up now. And you're just like, well, that's probably not a good idea. Now, so now you start having these three different stories, right? They're showing Ted as he's getting more and more exhausted, going north. You see Cy and Liv talking about life in general and, getting more into their characters. They even stop and they trip on Belladonna. And it's like, that's a really stupid thing to do. But they knew that. It was like, well, no, if you just eat one or two, and you're healthy or something, it like will just make you extremely, I guess it's like eating mushrooms or something. But, so they actually stop and take a berry, a belladonna berry, and eat it. And so they trip out. Walter and Melissa are more and more upset as they're going, down. And you don't know where the fuck Daryl is. So Melissa and Walter end up like camping in front of this cave. I'm like, well, first of all, I'd be scared there was a bear in there or something, but I guess since nothing came out. But so they like stay there that night and they camp there. And of course, Cy and Liv are going west. They're still doing their travels. Of course, after they get up and start coming down, from rolling all over the ground, stoned off their ass on a belladonna berry. Which I don't even know if that's true. I'll have to look it up. Because I thought that shit would kill you. I mean, it will kill you. But I mean, I didn't know that there was a safe number of berries that you could eat to trip on and not die. I never knew that. Probably, I don't know. It's just one of those things I've never looked up because why would I? I'm not going to do that. But just for curiosity's sake, I probably should. Just to have that answered. I don't like unanswered questions. So, Walter and Melissa, she tries to contact Ted every once in a while on the radio, but she never gets anything. They have this heartfelt talk, and she wakes up the next morning, and she looks over there, and he has slashed both his wrists and left a video where he talked about why. And it's like, oh shit. So she comes back and ends up sitting there in front of the cave. And all of a sudden, man, I nearly jumped out this chair because all of a sudden you hear Daryl. He's been in that cave the whole time, I guess, listening to everything they said. And all of a sudden you hear him go, Melissa. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I thought, wait, that don't sound like Ted, because immediately she thought, it was Ted on the radio or something. And I'm like, that sounds like a fucking Daryl, and then he says from the darkness, that's some spooky shit. He's like, from the darkness, he's like, I'm going to kill you now. Are you afraid of me? She's like, why should I be? He's like, yes, because I'm going to kill you now. And, you should run. Well, she starts running. He comes out after her. Meanwhile, it's weird trying to juggle these stories. Meanwhile, at the same time, concurrently, as they would call it, Cy and Liv have woken up. And he, freaks me out as well, because he, is laying there on the ground, and he's like, if that music doesn't stop, I think I'm becoming Daryl. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, I've been thinking about it for days. And she's like, what? Thinking about what? And he's like, all of the horrible things that I'm going to do to you. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, if that music doesn't stop or we doesn't find the town here soon, I'm going to do unspeakable things to you. And I'm like, oh my God, man, to be in the woods and have somebody just very calmly tell you that, what the fuck do you do? Well, I mean, I know what I would do. I would be like, excuse me, and crack his skull open with a limb, because I would just have to, because that's just too much for me. I would be like, you really? Okay, well, I didn't see that coming, but thanks for the warning. Won't be doing that shit to me, that's for damn sure. But, so he's like, I think you really need to tie me up, right? So she ties him up, and then he's like talking to her about, when I start begging you not to do it, I need you to kill me. So he starts trying to talk her into killing him. And he's like, well, she's like, well, you want me to stab you? Because she's freaking out too, right? I mean, they're all fucked up and freaked out after what's went on for the last 10 days out in the fucking New Hampshire woods. Up a damn mountain. So she ties him up with shoelaces and stuff. And she did a good job because he can't move. And then she goes off and she thinks about it for a minute, and then she comes back and she does end up breaking his neck. And she did what he told her to do, and that is that when I start saying no, don't listen to me, because those unspeakable things. And so she does it, and she breaks his neck, and it really just tears her up. And you're like, wow, this movie is really fucking with my head. And so that was concurrent with Walter Melissa waking up to Walter being dead. So, you had heard Teddy, like, she can't hear him, and, you know, you're dealing with Teddy as well, and he's talking all his shit, and he was giving some heartfelt speech about moving on with her life into the ham radio, while we are seeing Daryl cutting her head nearly off with a machete. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying these heartfelt words while it's flashing to her being brutally murdered by Daryl. So she's dead. Now you're down to 3. Right. Oh, that Jill girl, that was fucked up as well. Jill was with Melissa and Walter. This is before they got to the cave. They were in one of the places they had stopped. She remembered she had the big candy bag, and she had given them some candy, but we have to conserve it, right? That night, Jill had eaten all the candy out the bag. So the next morning, this is right before they got to the cave, they're walking down the side ledge of the mountain, and she's like, I don't know, maybe 30 feet behind them, and she keeps yelling at them, I'm sorry, I was just so hungry, I'm just really sorry, I'm sorry I did that. And they, of course, they're kind of bitchy and mad, so they're refusing to speak to her. And all of a sudden, she just, you know, she's like, ugh, and she just stops. And then she looks to the side, and that bitch just like kills herself. Just like, she takes 3 steps and just walks right off the mountain. And you're like, not even a warning? Not even a warning? Okay. So, and we'll get to that. That is what a whole lot of the action in this movie was that. And I found that strangely appealing, and I don't recall that in too many movies. And that is, there's no build-up. When shit goes down, like the fight with Daryl and Aaron, how did that happen so fast? It goes from everything's fine to a stupid little argument to him ripping her leg off her body in 10 seconds. It goes from Jill just walking behind them going, I'm sorry for eating all the candy, to just turning around and throwing her ass off the mountain. Throwing herself off the mountain. And like when Liv came and gave Cy what he told her to do, you know, like what he said. They were having a normal conversation, then all of a sudden he starts talking about, yeah, I'm going to kill you and do unspeakable things to you. And you're like, what? Where did that come from? And let's not mention, or let's re-mention, them sitting in front of the opening of that cave for 24 hours? And then all of a sudden, when she's sitting there quiet alone after finding Walter dead and crying over that and all of a sudden, Melissa, you know, and it's like, where did that come from? So these dudes that made this movie, that was a very nice trope that I haven't seen in any movies, where shit happens, a lot of shit happens, and it always happens without hardly any build up at all. Just boom, it's in your face to leave you to go, ugh. So, and here comes another one. So now Melissa has been damn near beheaded, and Daryl is like slinking across the ground with his binoculars, you know, and he's like looking. Well, Liv has left where she was after killing Cy, and she runs across the ATV, so she knows Daryl's close by. And she ends up walking up there and seeing the blood and shit from Melissa. And she turns around and goes over there. And once again, it was a scene like that, because he's like looking at binoculars over the mountain, you know, and she just comes out of nowhere. You see her walking, and you see her with this big K-bar knife, right? And she's walking, but what I'm saying is like, it happens so quickly. You know, he hears the rustling and he turns around and she puts that knife like right up here. It had to go like at least behind his eyes. You know what I'm saying? And it happened so fucking fast that you were just like, oh, Jesus Christ. So there ain't nobody left but Liv and Teddy, who is just walking on to infinity, it seems. Well, now he's down to pretty much crawling because he's just about dead from malnourish and dehydration. So you then flash back to Liv, who is like laid up against a tree and some bushes, and she's just got like a whole big pile of belladonna berries on her, and she's just eating them one after the other. And it's like, well, no need to explain what happened to her, right? So we're down to just Teddy. And he is literally on his hands and knees crawling. He can't even carry his backpack no more. He just took nothing but his camera and put it around his neck. And he's literally crawling. When all of a sudden you notice that the ground turns into cement, like a sidewalk. And you're like, what kind of fresh hell is fixing to go on now? And it turns into sidewalk, and he looks up, and there's a fucking door and windows, and it's like a marquee theater. And I'm like, is that the same theater from town? That's what I thought for a second, but I don't think it is. And it's like, but it's like a marquee theater, and he staggers in, and this usher comes out, and is like, hey, finally made it, huh? You know, and you're like, what the fuck? And he's like, you've got to help me, I left them all there. And he's like, I know, I saw it all. What do you mean you saw it all? I saw it all. But you've got to come and help them. You've got to, you know, you don't know them. You've got to, yeah, I know them. I've seen it. I saw it happen. But my wife, Melissa's like, yes, I saw it. And you're like, and he's like, just come on in and sit down and enjoy your picture show, right? You're like, okay. I'm beginning to hear the fucking Hotel California tune in my head from the fucking Eagles. That's what's going on right now. I'm like hearing it right back here. You know, that's what's going on. That's the first thing that right here is when I'm like, this is fucking Hotel California, man. So they take him in there, and he makes him sit down in the chair in a seat in this theater, and it's like there's nobody in there but him. And then the music like does that thing again where it's just like bam, real loud, and the picture starts playing, and it's this alien dead dusty desert landscape like the moon, but it's smoky and misty, and there's his wife Melissa, and she's like the big gash in her throat, and she's like saying, we're home now, the dust and the death and the darkness and all, this is our home now. And he starts screaming, and then you see flashes of like people in the seats, and you can tell that they're like 1940s hairstyles and hats and stuff like that. And he's screaming wildly as you see this really disgusting demonic vision of her cut like that and saying to him, "This is our home now," and he's screaming and the movie goes off, and I'm like, that is some Hotel California shit right there. You can check out anytime you like, as long as you take the time to walk your ass up here. And that's exactly what it was. So I watched the special features, and I know like one of them, I think it was Andy Milton or Millen, or yeah, I think it was Andy Mitton's one. Might have been Jesse, but I don't know which one it was. But I watched his thing on the special features, and he was talking about, why they redid this movie and the new special effects and stuff. And he talked about how they had left the ending for you to decide, what it was. And some people don't like that. But, I'm fine with it because I have my answer, I mean, he may come on here and go, if you ever see this dude, tell me. But he may come on here and go, no, you are completely wrong. It was hell or something. But no, it's fucking Hotel California. That's exactly what it is. It's kind of that. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. And that's what she meant by this is our home now. It's like if you go up the Yellow Brick Road, if you go up far enough, you can't come back. Just like Hotel California. If you check in, you can never leave. You can check out, but you can't leave this reality, this world. That was one of the things in the movie, too. They realized that the coordinates, they didn't work. They worked going uphill, but if you tried to use the coordinates to go back downhill, they don't work. In other words, it was like you had entered some other kind of dimension. And I think that that's what it was. It's fucking Hotel California. Just, it's not a hotel, it's a fucking theater. So, just like all of those other people from Fryer, New Hampshire, who had made it up there, without, like most of these, going crazy, killing themselves or each other, which is what the point was. If you actually make it, this is your home now, and you're in front of that theater, which is probably why he was screaming his ass off. It's like you had high hopes for a documentary till you found out you were going to end up in Hotel California's movie theater. Because that's exactly what it was. It was the movie theater on the lot of Hotel California. It was yeah. Hotel California says, check out our cinema. Right across the parking lot there. That's exactly what it was. He's trapped forever in the thing. But, they talked about how it was a polarizing movie. That, people were like, I don't know, what the fuck did I just watch? And hated it. And the others are like, God, my God, it's a fucking masterpiece. I'm right there with you, baby. This movie is a fucking masterpiece. Okay, I love this fucking movie. It caused so much thoughts. And I was so intrigued with this mystery, man. I so wanted to know what was at the end of the Yellow Brick Road. I really did. Now, I'd never hiked there. I don't like hiking. I'm not going into the fucking woods. If I was meant to go and play around in the woods, I would have been born a chipmunk. You understand? I'm just not. I'm not up into that shit. There's just too much shit out there that can bite you. I like watching nature programs. If you want to video a trip through the mountains, I'll be happy to watch it and give you a thumbs up. But if you're expecting me to chug on a fucking backpack and piss in the woods while eating pork and beans out of a fucking thing, not to mention wiping your ass, no. I am not going hiking. I ain't hiking up in a mountain and saying hello to the nearest black bear that eats my ass. It's just not fun to me. It's just no fun. So, that added to the terror in this movie. It's like my ass would never be out there. I'd be starving to death thinking that I'm going to eat a blueberry and end up tripping on belladonna. You see what I'm saying? I'm just not built for it. It's just not going to work for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if I belonged in the woods, I'd have been born a fucking chipmunk. I was not. So, this movie made me, you know, the mystery was so cool. And yet the horror aspects of it was just, well, I see it's listed as folk horror. Yeah. Because, you know, you got that folk mystery, like what's going on. And the kills were like brutal. Man, when Liv shivved fucking Daryl, he deserved every bit of that. And it jump scared the hell out of me. It was really good. Then there's those moments, like I said, when you're freaked out, when you're like, what the fuck did Jill just do? Why did she just... Because they were a little pissed at her for eating all the candy, so she just stops and goes and jumps off the mountain. What the fuck is that? And why didn't you give me any warning? You know? So Eric and Daryl are brother and sister, and they're going to have a little fight, and he rips her fucking leg off, and it happens like that, and you don't even give me like time to like, this is getting bad. No, it's just, it goes from it's not bad to what the fuck, like that. I found that very fun, actually. You know what it meant? It meant that I could not second guess the movie anymore. I found out very quickly when the shit started going south. This isn't a movie that you can second guess. You can't sit there and go, nothing's going to happen. Because the shit will happen. Liv and Si having that nice little conversation, and you're like, oh, well, this is interesting character development. Oh, I'm going to do unspeakable things for you. You know, I'm going to kill you and do unspeakable things to you. Wait a second. You were just talking about normal shit. And don't ever have me sitting in front of a cave and all of a sudden somebody just like says my name out of the darkness. No fucking shit. I would take off like Superman. You know what I mean? Rusty. What? I'd have been so quick to the top of a tree you'd have think Cocaine Bear was after my ass. Okay? That was funny though. That was, I mean, yeah, I was just thinking about my reaction to just, oh my God. It scares you without scaring you, you know, because you immediately are in that situation. It's like, I've just been sitting in front of this dark ass hole and he could have jumped my ass at any fucking time, and then all of a sudden he just decides to say, Melissa. And you're like, what the fuck? Oh, I'm having too much fun talking about it. But yeah, if your director or somebody from this movie, if you see this, you know, people go like, do you think anybody's going to see this? And I'm like, well, you know, one of the dudes from Deer Camp, he stopped by and said hey to me. The girl, the star of Girlfriend from Hell, she talked to me. So, yeah, maybe one of you guys will see it. Dudes, this is a masterpiece. It is a fantastic fucking movie. I would recommend any horror fan who has a collection beyond the mainstream franchises, which you're not a real collector if that's all you got, in my opinion. But if you are open to some really good horror movies, this is a fucking masterpiece. I would really suggest that you check it out. If you've got an IQ over 72, you will like this movie. It is fucked up. And I know that he talked about how he didn't explain, you know, that it was left open without explanation. But, you know, dude, I really don't think it is as left open as you think it is. I think you think that it's just so open-ended that such a plethora of stuff could be put there, but it's not really. I think it's pretty. I think there's a few understandings. A Hotel California-like situation, supernatural, enter a new dimension, thing. I think it's pretty good. So, I know you thought that a lot of people didn't like this movie because of that, because it was open-ended and they have to have an answer. I think that you're giving them too much credit. I think they didn't like it because they're just fucking stupid. And they don't have enough imagination. So, you're nice enough not to have said that. I, on the other hand, I'm not a nice boy, and I never was. So I'll just say it. The majority of them, they're just fucking retarded. If it's not Scream, or Friday the 13th, or Halloween, they're not going to get it. You know what I mean? It's got to be very straightforward, very mainstream, very that. Not that I don't like those movies. I love all that. But I'm just saying, they don't have any room for anything else. So, don't think that that was it. They were just too stupid to get it. That's all. That's my superiority complex talking. But yes, that is Yellow Brick Road. It was originally released in 2010. However, this release is new, and this release is a remaster, a re-imaging with a lot of cleanup work done on the film itself, and even some redone special effects to make it more professional. And it is absolutely wonderful. It's called Yellow Brick Road, and I'll see you in our final spotlight of this block. And always remember, never forget, you are a very, very special person. Jesus Christ, did I talk that long about this film? Oh well. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Always remember, you're a very, very, very special person, no matter what anybody says to you. I started to cut that off because I've talked for so long, but hey, I've done that before. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. If you have seen this, let me know what you think. I say it's a Hotel California situation. Bye.